This podcast is brought to you by Podspot Events.
What does it feel like to go to war in the ring with one of your heroes, get knocked down, and still walk away with the win? On this episode, Johnny Fisher, aka the Romford Bull, takes us inside his controversial split decision victory against Dave Allen on the Fury Usyk undercard just before Christmas. We get Johnny's take on the fight, lessons learned, the potential for a rematch against Dave in the UK, which would be absolutely massive, and most importantly, I asked Johnny what Christmas Day is like in the Fisher household with his legendary dad, Big John. Big thanks to Johnny for coming on the podcast again, and if you enjoyed this episode, you should check out our earlier episodes that we did with Johnny's dad, Big John, and the double episode that we did with Johnny and John when they were here last year. This episode is sponsored by Remote and Chief Nutrition, but I'll tell you a bit more about the both of them later, as we've got some really good sponsor deals for our listeners. As always, remember to give us a follow on Instagram at the Bondi Podcast to stay up to date with all of our guests and episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll find all of our episodes on Spotify as well. Cheers! Johnny Fisher, welcome back to the Bondi Podcast, mate.
Thanks, mate. It's great to be back. Great to see you again and the boys, and feels like a distant second home at this point. Been back a second time and I feel so at home here. It's great.
Good to hear, mate. You might remember from the podcast last time, the first question we ask all our guests is, what's your favourite thing about Bondi? Last time you said the active lifestyle, that sort of gym culture. Has that changed, or is there anything else you want to add to the list?
Definitely that still, but right now, just instinctively, knowing it's -5 degrees at home and it's bloody 30 degrees and humid here, it's a lot nicer than being in the freezing cold. And I've looked at the weather map all day and it says rain, and all week, and it's been saying rain every day. It hasn't rained once. So, yeah, long may it continue.
Mate, there's a storm brewing.
But we're holding it off.
Yeah, good man. So what brings you back over this time, Johnny?
Just a nice little break and holiday. I always wanted to. I thought in December, January, where it's going to be nice, and I needed a big break really after the year I've had of non-stop training, and where better to have a nice break and freshen up than Bondi Beach.
100%, mate. And you were up at there was some event up in the Gold Coast last weekend, wasn't there?
Yeah, dry up attire, fought David Nico, and it's great to watch that. Done a bit on the broadcast with DAZN, and it's brilliant to see boxing over this side as well. Eventually, we want to fight over here. The Tasman Fighters, the promoters with Eddie, who sort of combine and do the show together. They really want me to fight over here as well, and I think it would be amazing to. There is a show I'm rumoured in March. Whether I could do that or not is another thing, but definitely this year I'd love to fight over here.
Oh man, that'd be amazing. Bring the Bull Army over here.
Oh, that'd be amazing. There's plenty of them over here already, the English and Irish, so yeah, it'd be brilliant.
100%. And are the family coming over later this month?
Yeah, my dad's over in a few days. My mum and sister are staying at home. Hetty's got her A-level exams and stuff, so she's got to stay. My mum was going to come over, but she wants to stay with Hetty. Henry's over here, my other brother. William's actually going to Thailand for a couple of weeks, so he'll be living it up over there with his mates, so I'm sure he'll be enjoying himself. And
what have you got planned for when Big John's in town?
Lots of eating, obviously. We're going Paddy Chan's as well, doing a little meet and greet there. He's got a few race course things, not only in Sydney, but he's starting off here. He's got a few bits in Perth. I think he might have something in Newcastle as well. But a lot of things pop up as well when you come here, when he arrives and stuff. So I'm sure he won't be short of things to do.
Oh mate, you can feel it. Bondi changes when he's in town. Like, you know, everyone knows he's here. You can feel his energy. It's great. I love it, man.
No, it's brilliant. He's good. He's good value, and everyone. When most of the people, everyone really that comes and meets him, they feed off the positive energy he has. So that's always a good thing, you know.
He's so generous with his time as well. Like so many, with me particularly, but like so many of my friends who just bump into him on the street, like they'll stop and have a 5 or 10 minute chat with him, and he loves it. He's genuinely interested in them.
I remember last time we sat down at Surfish all day from about 10 o'clock till 7 o'clock at night, just different groups of people coming up to us and having a chat. New Zealanders, Aussies and Irish and Europeans, not only just English, but it's great. That's what it's all about, and everyone's got such a positive energy here anyway. And he lives off that really.
Perfect. And will you travel about with him when he's here?
I'm not sure. I think I might just stay here the whole time. I do like Perth as well. I might on the way back go to Perth for 1 or 2 nights and then fly back from there. But I'm not in any rush. I'm enjoying just resting and relaxing for a little bit.
Nice, mate. Well, it's great to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Just a quick word from me, guys. We're making some progress, Bondi Podcast listeners. We're up to 450 followers on Spotify. and 150 subscribers on YouTube. I would love to get both of those numbers closer to 500 across both platforms. So I've got a quick favour to ask. If you haven't, could you please quickly pause this episode, go and hit the subscribe and follow buttons on both platforms. It really helps with the show and ensures we can keep bringing quality guests and episode to you guys. Cheers. Right, Johnny, I want to get into it and I want to talk about that fight against Dave Allen in Saudi Arabia on that Fury Usyk undercard. How did you feel going into the fight, mate?
I felt good, mate. I felt I trained very well. I trained for a very long time, really, where I had 2 cancelled shows just before, 3 cancelled shows actually before that. So really, it's probably too long of a stint, but I was fit, I was ready, and I knew it was going to be a tough challenge. I had a lot of people saying Dave isn't going to pose too much of a threat, but I know how good Dave is. I know him on a friendship level, really, and we gave everyone a very good ding dong. So. We people got their money's worth if they tuned into our fight.
So when you're preparing for a fight like that, Johnny, probably the biggest fight of your career.
Yeah.
Talk me through like a standard week in camp.
It's the sparring. Everything sort of revolves around the sparring, right? So you do when you get to that last sort of 3-4 weeks in camp, a lot of the base work of cardiovascular fitness, endurance training is done. You probably spar 2 or maximum 3 times a week. I like to just spar twice a week because of the wear and tear on the body. But you either spar on a Monday, a Wednesday, or a Tuesday, or Thursday, or Wednesday or Friday. You get that all booked in, and all your training, even your strength and conditioning, is all tailored around not working too hard for that sparring. And the sparring is the critical part because that's where you're learning. That's the most realistic type of training you're going to do before the fight. So. I was talking to people here actually. I'm going out to the bars here, enjoying it, relaxing. I'm not going out late, but I'm going out till midnight, having a Diet Coke. And I just thought to myself, since March this year, I haven't been to a pub. I haven't been out. It's only like since after the fight when I got back to England, I've been going out, and I'm just like, I've forgotten how to relax a little bit in that sense. But don't get me wrong, when you're in training camp, you're relaxing. You're at home. You're watching YouTube. You're just watching telly and stuff. But going out and socialising, you do become a bit of a recluse, and that's how it should be because you can't waste any bit of energy.
And where did you do your camp this time?
I've done it all at home in Rainham. I live in Romford. Rainham's 15 minutes around the corner with Mark and Jimmy Tibbs, Sonny Cannon, my strength and conditioning coach. We all train at Origin Gym in Rainham. It's a great little spot. It feels like home now. Been there for a good 4 years now.
But are you able to go back to your house, Johnny, that night?
Yeah, it's a 15-minute drive from where I live, so I'll just go there, do my work. It is good being at home, but part of me, especially in the winter months, wants to be training somewhere warm. Whether that's maybe not here because it's the other side of the world, but Fuerteventura is a place we've trained at before. It's got warm weather, great accommodation. It's not too dear out there. There's a quiet little resort, nothing really going on, and I'm learning as I go. Still, I'm 25 and I'm learning little bits about myself and how I like to train. And I think moving forward in the winter months, I think training abroad somewhere will definitely be beneficial because just coming into the gym when it's freezing cold, it's just another thing. It adds another 15 minutes on. If you don't do it quite properly, you might get a little niggle. And you just recover better in the warmer weather, I think.
100%. And who are you sparring, Johnny, then?
I sparred a guy called David Jameson predominantly for this camp. He's a very tough Scotsman. He had his last fight at heavyweight. He won the Commonwealth silver title. I sparred him before Babbage as well. Probably a little bit more suited sparring for Babbage because he's that little bit smaller. He's tough. He doesn't stop coming forward, Dave. So that was one of the great things about him. He's so fit and strong. He prepares you.
Are you looking for someone who's going to mirror what you think Dave Allen's style is going to be on the night?
A little bit. So we had Dave and we had a guy called William Howe as well, a young English guy coming through. I think he's only had 3 or 4 amateur professional fights, but he had a good English amateur career and won a lot of the stuff. I think he won everything you could win at sort of national level. And he was tough and strong and he comes forward and I needed to feel a little bit of that because Dave's slightly different to Dave Allen. Dave Jameson is getting confusing. Dave Jameson, the Scottish bloke, is a bit different to Dave Allen, but the good thing with Dave Jameson is my friend, his whole team, we get on really well. And being able to train with him, we can work on different things, he can try different things. But stylistically, Will Howe was probably a little bit similar to Dave Allen, a little bit heavier. And I think we'll be using him a lot going forward. But you need to have different sorts of sparring. It's great to spar people at a world level as well. Maybe moving forward, I'm going to do that again. I didn't spar. The last person I sparred sort of world level was Filip Hrgović back in April time. And it's always good to feel that regardless of the style because they're elite. They punch really hard. They move really well. You learn so much off them, and Philip had loads of time to teach me as well as the weeks went on. So yeah, really, really good stuff.
And talk me through sort of building that cardiovascular base, and the sort of the conditioning and the endurance stuff that you do. So before you go into that sort of sparring focused few weeks, what are you doing to sort of build the engine up before that?
The good thing about this one is I had plenty of time to prepare myself for it, probably 11, 12 weeks. And I wasn't unfit anyway. I was always keeping myself in check and in good nick. But the good thing about having that amount of time is you aren't having to build the aerobic base and the cardiovascular base whilst you're sparring, which in a 5-6 week camp, you're probably doing both at the same time. The benefit of that is you've got more time to fit it in. You can do your hard runs, get them out of the way pretty early. The downside of that you've got to be careful of, you can train for so long doing high intensity, although it's not sparring, training at high intensity levels for 12, 13 weeks. Your body is you're only a human. Your body is not a machine. It's affected very badly sometimes if you train for too long. And I think for me, where I'd come off the back of multiple camps really, even though I didn't fight on I fought Babbage on the 6th of July, then I was meant to fight August 24th, that got cancelled. I was meant to fight in September in Sheffield, that got cancelled. Then I was meant to headline in September and I tore my bicep. And then I was coming off the bicep tear, literally still injured as this fight got announced. So I've not really rested properly. Although my arm's healed and I've done it properly in that sense, just your whole body, giving it time to rest is so important. That's a part of my career where I'm still young in this sport. I'm learning as I go. And like now, looking in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing. You don't know at the time, but once they told me the August 24th card was off, I should have probably said, right, I'm having 6 weeks off now, just doing low intensity stuff, go on holiday then. But you live and you learn. You don't know until you're in that sort of experience, and that's why you have a career where you learn as you go, you know? Absolutely,
mate. So what does a hard run look like for a heavyweight boxer?
Well, the first thing I think of when you say hard run is the Greenwich Hills. They are brutal. Me and Sonny have been doing them together now for the last couple of camps, and he's always spoke about them before, and we haven't actually done them. But this time, these last 2 fights we have, and it's just this really, really steep hill, and you think you're near the top, and then the hardest part actually starts. And you run up, you do that 10 times, and it will be different paces. He'll tell you to attack it at a certain point. You might run down the first one, you might walk down the second one, and just keep changing it so you can never guess what's going to happen. And then at the end of one of them, he might say, right, you're sprinting to the end now and doing some shuttles. So you can never mentally prepare for what's coming. Similar to a fight, you never know what's going to happen, when you're going to get caught or what you're going to take or what round someone's going to come on strong. So it's good mental training, not just physical training, and it builds the lactic acid. My cardio base, my aerobic base is good, but as heavyweights, we've got bigger muscles, we've got bigger bones, and having that lactic threshold and the lactic tolerance is very important as well. So there's all different facets I'm learning all the time, and I try and keep up to date with it and have as much knowledge on it as I can so I understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it as well.
That's fantastic, mate. So back to fight night.
Yeah.
When your dad was on the podcast last, he said that he does get quite nervous in the build-up for your fights. Do you speak to your dad on fight day?
Not really, no. I keep him away, keep my mum away. I know they're there. I'll see him on the night. I might see him briefly in the daytime, but I don't want nervous energy around me because I don't feel it myself. And I think my dad knows it himself. He's not a boxing trainer. He knows his boxing to an extent, but leave it to us to do the work. I wouldn't go and tell him how to eat a Chinese meal because he's the expert on that, you know. So just let me do our job. I'm not an expert, but my coaches are. And I might not be the finished article, but if I listen to them, there's no one better to do it. And they understand me. They're the ones that are in the trenches with me every day of training and sparring. And they've been in these camps with me. They've been in these 12 fights before that I've had. So that's our best bet. And having the nervous energy of my mum and dad around, it's not going to be any help.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, mate.
Yeah.
So what was the strategy or the game plan on the night?
The game plan, to an extent, was to listen. If I see an opening, I'm still going to go for it. My natural instincts are to be aggressive. I was pretty aggressive in the first few rounds, and a lot of people thought if I put my foot on the gas a little bit more, I might have been able to get him. A lot of people said that, but I knew and I know how tough Dave is.
Was that the strategy though, Johnny, to come out firing in those first rounds?
Not particularly. I think I'm just naturally lend myself to being that way, and I had a terrific first 4 rounds, winning them pretty comfortably. But something hit me in the second round and I thought, what? Feels a bit different. And turns out that was a little shot on the ear as well. That didn't help things. But also, it's not just that, it's also the way Dave's very, very calm, and he's been in with some top guys, Dillian White, Luis Ortiz and David Price, Tony Yoka, and he's good at nullifying and he's good at biding his time. And where I was probably expending a little bit too much energy to win the rounds, he wasn't throwing too much leather. And I probably could have won them rounds. I know I've got the ability to do it whilst expending a little less energy as well. So until you're in them situations in an actual fight, though, you can't learn that just by being in the gym. So I'll look back on this fight, and I think I've learned so much from that itself, probably more than I have in the 12 fights combined, if I'm being honest, before that.
So it kind of looked, well, to me, it looked like Dave was sort of weathering the storm. You were the aggressor. Dave was weathering the storm. But then you get knocked down in the fifth, Johnny. Yeah. So what actually happened there?
Well, I remember we was in a huddle in a little bit, and Dave's he said it himself. He's a clever old fox. He's good at these little things. And there was a little break happened, and it was a legal shot. He just caught me on a break. I probably just didn't get my hands to my head quick enough. And
where did he catch you?
I think it was it was a left hook. I think it was on the chin or on the head somewhere. But he's was off balance. I just felt off balance from about round 3, round 4.
With the ear?
I don't know if it was that. I remember going to the change room after the fight, and the doctor said stand up straight, and I just couldn't. I was just tipping
really?
Backwards. Yeah, so I felt like I was swaying a bit from about round 3, round 4, and obviously the pressure from Dave climbed in after round 4, round 5. So I was really fighting a little bit with just grit and determination, and I knew I had to stand a bit taller, had to stay out of the way, use my feet a little bit more, but the conditions I was in, I just felt like I couldn't evade as well as I normally would. Maybe it's the year, maybe it's the pressure with Dave as well combined. I don't know. I can't go back to that moment and tell you exactly how I felt, because I've never felt it before. But it was good, and I knew I had the toughness to tough it out if I need to. But it's good to show people that I can tough it out as well. I watched it back, and Dave had a terrific 5th round, obviously, with the knockdown. And then I actually think, and Dave said it himself, in the 6th round, I actually won that round, and I won the 10th. So numerically, if you're scoring it round by round, I do win it by a round. But the problem is, in round 7, 8 and 9, what people remember is
momentum.
The momentum shifting towards Dave, and I'm swaying all over the place, and he's putting the pressure on. But I wasn't on steady legs. You can see it there, and I still couldn't get me out of there. So I'm pretty not happy with that, because I don't want to be in situations like that. Of course, this is heavyweight boxing. You're one punch away from being cleaned out of there. But what I am not pleased about, but proud of myself, or a sense of pride, is my ability to show that I can tough it out as well if I need to. I'm not just a knockout artist. I've got a bit of balls about me as well. And when it does get tough, I'm not just going to lay down and take it. I'm going to try and stay in the fight and throw back, because I was throwing back in them 7, 8s and 9s as well. And then I was throwing back enough in round 10 to actually win that round as well.
Mate, that definitely came through in the fight as well. Chief Nutrition have come on board as a sponsor. Chief Nutrition specialise in clean, healthy snacks that cut the crap. My personal favourite is the collagen protein powder. If you want to find out more about Chief Nutrition, listen to our episode with Veronica Larasova. And if you like what you hear, Bondi Podcast listeners get 10% off all Chief products. Just follow the link in the show notes. Cheers. Back to that 5th round, Johnny. So that's your first time getting knocked down.
Yeah.
A new experience for you. What's going through your head when you're on the deck?
Get back up.
Yeah.
Fucking don't stay down there, you stupid idiot. Get back up.
How tough is it to get back up?
No, it's not tough. Get up. That's all I think in my head. My body was finding it hard to get up, but my mind was saying, get back up. But this is experience again. The second time when I was off balance and thrown to the floor, I knew to just take a knee for 4 or 5 seconds. But your naive sort of juvenile reaction when you get knocked down is, don't knock me down, get me up. And if you look at how I fall, I actually fall, like I'm stumbling even then. I don't just go straight down from the shot. So there must be a balance issue there as well, from my perspective as well. Because the shot, I don't remember the shot, like sometimes you get hit with a shot that drops you, or one that's buzzed you when you've been buzzed in sparring, you see like a white light or a flash. Didn't see no flash. I think the way, the momentum of myself carrying myself forward, still caused by a punch, of course, but the way that I was standing and the way that I fell lended itself to a balance issue as well. But I look back on it with a sense of excitement as well. I was like, this is not fun, but it's like, this is what it's all about.
This is why we're here.
This is why we're here. We're entertaining people.
Yeah.
I'm on halfway across the world in Saudi Arabia fighting on the undercard of Tyson Fury and Usyk, and I'm in a proper war here, and I've got to dig something out from somewhere. It's only round 4, round 5, and I've got a long way to go. The end's nowhere near in sight, and I've got to give credit to Mark Tibbs, Sonny Cannon, and Jimmy Tibbs, letting me have that, bringing that warrior spirit out of me. I remember him saying to me, Mark, I think it was round 7 or 8, and I was in the hole big time, and he said, I said to him before in the build-up to the fight in the changing room, look, if I get tough in there, just tell me my granddad's willing me on and he's here and he's watching me. And he said, they were saying, your granddad's in the corner with us now. Do not fail him. Do not go down. Do not quit. And that was just that extra 2, 3, 4% I needed to hang in there and even throw shots back when I was in a perilous position, And that's what life's all about for me, It's about getting over them hurdles.
Your granddad and Big John's dad, you've spoke about him before and you've posted about him a lot on social media. Why does your granddad sort of elicit that reaction from you, Johnny?
It's just like a feeling of, I don't want to go over the top, but it's just like the way we've brought up is just the honour, and upholding your family name is so important, and being a man of your word and things like that. And he was just forget all that actually, he was such a good family man as well. Where he came from his dad was called Fatty and he was a character, and Lizzie. But I feel like where he didn't have such a good family background, or he wasn't brought up and cared for like my dad was and how my dad cared for us, I feel like the idea of family is so important of us, and it stems from him. And our whole families at Christmas, I remember like at Christmas dinners when he was alive, all of our extended family would come together, and he was like the glue and the head of our family. And we still feel that way the same now. And I want to do him proud every single time I get in the ring, and everything we do, and we all do. William, Henry, Hetty, we all feel the same. My cousins, Michael and Annabelle, all of them. I'm not going to name them all, but we all feel that resonance with my granddad, and you just want to do it. When you talk about my granddad, it just sets something off inside me. And I think it's the same for many people with relatives. It doesn't have to be your granddad, it could be your nan, it could be someone else who, just that figure in your life that it sparks that fire inside you, and he does it for me every single time.
Yeah, no, that's just, I can completely relate to that.
A lot of people, everyone can, I think, to an extent, if they've got, it doesn't have to necessarily even be a family member, it's just a mentor or someone who resonates with you, And for me, it's my granddad, and it's for most of us in our family as well.
No, it's the same for me, mate. I tell people my granddad's my favourite human on earth. He
was my best mate, like growing up. I remember, because my brothers all played football as well, and it'd be my dad taking William or Henry to football, but boxing on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday night, and on a Sunday, or my football training when I was young, it'd always be me and my granddad, and he'd always tell me the truth. If I had a bad game of football, you could see it written all over his face, and it was like he had a face like thunder, and I was almost scared, because I didn't want to. It wasn't because I was scared of how he's going to talk to me or he's going to shout at me. I just didn't want to disappoint him. So it's a weird feeling. Like you just want to make him proud every single time, and I know he's watching, and I hope I made him proud the way I just toughed it out in there.
I'll say you did, mate. Yeah. And did that G you up for those final rounds?
I just remember thinking, I've got to find something from somewhere, because I have to win this last round. I have to, because it's going to be close on the scorecards. It could be a draw, could be a point the other way, but in that moment you don't know. You got to win the last round to give yourself the lasting memory with the judges, because whatever you say about boxing, you score the fight round by round. And I know I've won the first 4 pretty comfortably. I know he's won the 5th. I know I had a good 6th, and the 7th, 8th and 9th probably gone his way. And just to make sure, in my head as much as I can, I've got to win the 10th, and them saying that in the 10th round, do them proud, that saw me over the line. I actually felt myself lifted from the 10th. If it goes 1 or 2 more, I think I could have won them as well, because there's no way I'm going out without a fight if you mention my granddad. And I'm sure it's the same for many people on earth. They've got that fire or something that lights up inside them as well.
Beautiful, mate. Look, that's, am I right in saying, Johnny, that's your first time going past 7 rounds?
Yeah.
How did that feel? Fuck.
Yeah, it's difficult. Boxing's the hardest sport in the world. It's difficult. It's just like, you just got to dig yourself out of the hole, especially the way I was fighting them rounds and how torrid them rounds were. They weren't easy rounds. It was a war, and put a lot of energy into the first 4. So to do the next 6 or the next 5 after the knockdown as well, you'll feel like you've got to keep up the fight, and you've got to stay in the fight. So it's not as if you can coast 10 rounds, the 10 hard, intense, grueling rounds. And I've got that under my belt now, and knowing I can do that in Saudi Arabia on a bigger stage, and it's my first time doing it. It gives me a lot of confidence out of that fight. I come out of that fight and I thought, I'm confident in my toughness, my resilience, not just my ability to punch, you know.
When you watched the fight back, Johnny, at any point did you think, oh, I nearly got Dave there, he was wobbling?
I think we even spoke about it after, me and Dave. I think it was the second or the third, I caught him with a body shot. And he said he was close to going down then, but Dave had his own motivations and inspirations for this fight. He had a fight with Fraser, my good friend, not too long ago last year, and he wasn't proud of himself, and he didn't speak to his granddad for a little while because of how he performed in that fight, how he just sort of thinking he had a lot to prove to people as well. He didn't have to prove anything to me because I looked up to Dave as a kid. I know how tough he is. He's a tough man, never been dropped. But a lot of people wrote him off, and I knew that was wrongly writing him off because he's been about the block, Dave, and he's hung with the best. He's a freak of nature himself and the way that he conducts himself, and I knew he had a point to prove, but that's what I'm in the game for. I'm in the game to give people exciting fights, and Dave is an exciting fighter in his own right, and someone people resonate with as well.
So Johnny, what's going through your head when the bell rings at the end of the 10th round and both of you are still standing there? Do you think you've won the fight?
I think it's close. I don't know because I haven't watched the fight. When you're in the fight, all you're worried about is getting to that final bell, especially when you've been knocked down in the fifth. But I knew I had a good start to it, and I knew I finished that last round strong. And but in the middle rounds, you're fighting. You're just fighting on instinct a little bit. So you don't know. You don't really know. I've had fights in the amateurs where I think, oh, could they have gone either way? And I've had one where I thought I won and it's gone the other way. And I've had one where I didn't really think, oh, have I done enough here? You just don't know. And it's so subjective, the scoring in boxing. But that's why it's exciting as well. It is a close old fight. If it went a draw, it went a draw. But at that point, my first initial thoughts after the bell, I spoke to my dad about this, was just like, I'm just proud of myself, and I'm glad I got to the final bell so we can get to a decision, because not everything was right in my head in that fight. I don't want to go into it too much with the ear and stuff, because that was a shot caused by David itself. So it's fair enough.
It's all part of it.
It's a good shot, and all new experiences for me. But I watch it back, and I do believe I've nicked it by a point. But you can see why people argue a draw. It's all down to perspective, you know.
Yeah. So, as you said, Johnny, split decision.
Yeah.
Judges score it in favour of you.
Yeah.
Can you describe that feeling?
It's just like, you're not overly happy because you've been knocked down. You haven't had the performance where in the media before everyone's saying, oh, Johnny's going to do him in 3. But in myself, I knew it wasn't going to go like that. I knew it was going to be tough. I knew I've got a chance of knocking him out. And if I see the opportunity, I'll go for it 100%. But at that point, I was just proud of myself in terms of being able to get to the final bell. And I was happy. Of course I was happy to win the belt. And I just wanted to make sure I could sort the old ear out. And I went straight to the hospital afterwards and sucked all the blood out the back of my ear. And met a very nice doctor over there, Saudi Arabian doctor. No, he was a Syrian doctor in Saudi Arabia. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was a good bloke. Got it all done in a couple of hours. I was good as new, but he spent about 2 hours just sucking a load of blood out my ear. And I'm glad I ain't got a cauliflower ear now. He's done a good job.
So after you get back from the hospital, what do you do?
Go and have a bit of food. I had a bit of food straight after, a bit of sweets and stuff, and just sit there. Sonny, my strength coach, he was still up, went back with him. They all came to the hospital with me as well. Me, Mark, Jimmy, my dad, Henry and William, all sitting in there watching the Fury and Usyk fight as well.
You're like, I was there a few minutes ago.
It's just like, life just goes on, you know?
Yeah.
When you think about it, right? We're just all human beings on this earth. We've done something for a bit of entertainment, and life just goes on, you know? You've just been in the fight of your life, and everyone just moves on. And you just got to keep rolling with it and keep going and building momentum. And one thing I've noticed being here and after the fight, being on that stage and being in such a entertaining fight, my sort of credit and kudos has gone up a lot. People coming to me in the street and saying, you and Dave put on such a great fight, and we'd love to see it again. And as a boxer, as a professional boxer who thrives on the crowd and people wanting to come and watch you, that's only a positive thing as well, you know?
100%, mate. As you mentioned, there has been a little bit of a backlash, you know, fairly controversial decision. Reading some of the media articles, Johnny, people have described it as disgraceful, embarrassing, even some saying a fix. From your perspective, having gone through like an absolute battle on the night with Dave, to come out as the winner, like, how does it make you feel seeing and hearing all that shit?
You see, and I knew in the back of my mind there would be a point in my career where the niciness of what I've had and I've had the pleasure of having from most people,
Yeah.
it does disappear. I think about all boxers. I think about Anthony Joshua. I think about Tyson Fury. These guys in Britain especially, like they're at a level 100 times bigger than me. But these guys have achieved things 10, 20, 100 times more than me, and they still get stick. So what hope have us guys coming through got as well? Like I could only dream of getting to their level, but to call it disgraceful judging or to call it a fix even is just it's disrespectful to the judges and the integrity of the sport in general, because we do know things like that happen in boxing. We do know that terrible decisions are made and they're woeful, but to call a fight like that, which is close, and if you score it round by round and you look at it objectively, to call something that can go one round either way a disgrace, and you're not educated on how you score boxing. You know, it's a close fight. Dave could have nicked it by a point. It could have been a draw. It went one round my way, and I can see an argument for why it went one round my way. I'm an honest and stand-up bloke, and I'll say that all the time. But yeah, it's not ideal when you see people sensationalising things, but I suppose people want to make headlines. And yeah, if you, to the naked eye, if you're a casual fan and you see someone like me who's being built up to be the next best thing, is knocked down in a fight and has to come through a war to get a decision at the end, you are going to get people to jump on the bandwagon. It's the nature of humans in a way. They look to pounce. So I knew that was coming, and all that matters is I believe in myself. My family, my team are honest with me, and there's things I can do a lot better. But I've come through a war with someone I used to spar 5-6 years ago, and someone I looked up to, someone that I watched on the telly, and now I'm in a position where I've nicked a win against them. So happy days, and we move on and we keep it rolling.
Does it take some of the shine off the win, Johnny, the fact that that's sort of been the response?
Of course, if you knock someone out in one round like you do against Babic, or you knock someone out cleanly and emphatically, it's obviously better to do that. But in the long run, if you look at it from a boxing perspective and how it's going to develop my career, you don't want to have too many fights like that because they will take years off your career. But a fight like that was not necessarily needed, but that was due in my career, because before that, in that year, I'd fought the equivalent of just over one round in Vegas, one round in 30 seconds in the copper box, or the copper box as they call it. So yeah, a fight like that was probably due, and everyone I spoke to in the industry who's of any note in terms of heavyweight boxers or professional boxers, they've said you'll learn so much more from that fight. And look at some of the heavyweights in the past who have had fights early on in their career. Think back, it's not on the same scale, but when Joshua fought Dillian Whyte and came through a rocky moment in that, when Tyson Fury fought John McDermott early on in his career, if you think you're going to go through heavyweight boxing, especially with no rocky seas or no wavy moments, then you're living in a la-la land. So yeah, I'm just happy to get through it, and I'm still here now, and I'm more motivated than ever in a way, because I know I've proved to people I can tough it out as well.
What did Eddie Hearn say to you after the fight, Johnny?
He said it was close. It was probably made more difficult work of it than you needed to, which is probably true.
I could see him sweating there in the front
row. He was sweating, and that's the excitement of heavyweight boxing, isn't it? Like, you never really know what's going to happen. A lot of people in the media thought I was going to bowl Dave over. They was doing Dave a discredit because he has fought at a level much higher than me. Before that, my best win was Babic, or you could even argue it was Harry Armstrong for the Southern area. So I'm not this superstar with natural, who should be touted as this natural born next heavyweight champion. I've got to manufacture it. I've got to work for it, and that's exciting in itself. And moments like that, where you have got them squeaky bum time things, that's what makes it exciting, and that's what makes it for a journey that's worth watching, you know?
So rumours of a rematch, Johnny?
Yeah, I'd love to get in there. Me and Dave spoke about it afterwards, and I think it's a massive fight in the O2 with a good undercard, and we've both got stuff to watch back now, and we've both got things we can look at, and I'm sure it'll be just as exciting, because we lend ourselves to that exciting style, you know.
So how does it work behind the scenes, Johnny, from where we are today to that fight actually taking place? Like what happens behind the scenes?
Well, first of all, the most important thing is rejuvenating over here.
100%.
Letting the body just
Mate, you're in a great
down.
place for it.
Yeah, like, as I said, I've sort of trained solidly from... I remember watching the Fraser Clarke-Fabio Wardley show back in March, and they both put on an absolute great fight, the 12-round war that they had. I know they've fought recently since then, but I looked at that and I thought, that's what I've got to work towards now, getting to that sort of British title level. And since then, I've changed a few things. I've got a new nutritionist on board, Lee Rickard, and just tightened everything up a little bit. That was just like I'd come back from Australia then. I was a little bit fat, a little bit chunky, wasn't really living the right lifestyle. But since then, I haven't come off. I haven't come off of training. And being here and just doing a bit of running and weights and not punching and not stressing over diet too much, but just living a healthy lifestyle, that's going to be so important. And then we'll come back. Most important thing is we go and watch the fight back with my team, my trainer, my strength and conditioning coach, my dad as well, if he wants to watch it, because he won't be nervous this time because it's already played out. And we can assess from there what the game plan is moving forward, whether it's a fight straight away. I think Dave, we spoke about it, he might want to have a fight in between, I might want to fight in between. There's no bravado with it. It's just it could be the summertime, it could be a fantastic spectacle for the fans to come and watch, whether it be at the Copper Box or the O2. And we'll both get paid handsomely for it, which is the bottom line,
100%, mate.
Yeah.
So it could be the next fight, could be the one after.
Could be the next one. It might be. I'll sort of go on how I feel, and this has given me time to think being out here, I'd love to fight here as well one day. I was speaking to them Australian guys, the Tasman Fighters, they're called, their promotion, and they really want me to fight out here as well. So whether that's before or after is another one. I'm hearing there's a show here in March. Could do it here. I've got options in a sense, but that thing inside of me is calling me to have that rematch because I know I could do better, and I love the challenge of it as well, And at the bottom, if you are a warrior, you always go to the hardest battle. I think, I think that's calling me a little bit.
Like from a selfish perspective, I want to see both those fights happen. I want to see a fight here in March, and then
that's what I mean. And
Dave later on the year.
The good thing is I've got time to do it. I'm 25 years old. I'm not as if I'm battling against the clock, and I'm 35 plus. And you just want to have longevity as much as you can in your career to not only win belts and be as successful as you can, but to make a living for yourself in I say safe, but in the most productive and the most sensible way possible as well,
100%, mate. So, Johnny, we're about 3 or 4 weeks post-fight.
Yeah.
Looking back on the fight, lessons learned?
Yeah, lots of lessons learned. Tactically, lessons learned. I was probably a little bit too lean for this one, but probably through the training.
What did you come in at?
I came in at the same sort of weight I normally come at, 17.3, 17.4, but
And Dave was?
I've been at that consistently now for about a year, 2, 3 years, really. And I should be moving up a little bit. And I think it's just, that's not so much the nutritional aspect of it. It's just the constant training camps that were back to back. Just, you can't train at high intense for that long and not get lean. Your body just becomes leaner and leaner. And you look at heavyweights throughout history, they haven't been super lean all the time. It's only sort of Anthony Joshua who's the exception to the rule in that sense. You look at the other guys, Tyson Fury, even Usyk, Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis. They've got that layer of chunker about them, and I think I need to sort of go like that. But we'll have a debrief when I get back to England with Lee and Sonny and Mark, and we'll devise a plan from there.
And what about, so that's weight, Johnny. What about tactics on the night?
Yeah, tactics probably.
What would you have done? Looking back on the fight, you've watched the fight.
Don't want to give too much away,
Fair.
Obviously, but
what would you have done differently? Can you say anything?
There's a lot of things I would have done differently. I think it's a different experience being over there in Saudi Arabia. One thing I will say is it might be the same for Dave as well, but having the crowd makes so much difference for me. I didn't realise at the time, but the crowd is a weapon of mine as well. And being over in Great Britain or even in Ireland, it could be, or somewhere with a huge crowd. I thrive off of that now, rather than in the first 4, 5, 6 fights. It's probably a bit of a nervous thing. I've had it so many times now, it feels like home. So, that could be an advantage for me.
Did it feel like less of a crowd, Johnny? Because watching it on TV, there wasn't many people sitting ringside during your round, but you couldn't see the rest of the arena. So
I'm used to being late on in the bills in England,
Yeah.
because I sell the tickets over there. I still brought a good couple of hundred over there, but it was so vast. The production was so great in Saudi Arabia. It's a different sort of feeling over there. Eddie spoke about this. It's not like the atmosphere you get in England with the rowdiness and stuff. It still feels so pristine and professional, but it is very different. And same for every fighter on the bill, of course. But it's different when you're in a raucous atmosphere like a cauldron, like the O2 or the Copper Bosh, or even in Wembley Arena or up north in Liverpool or Sheffield. It's a different atmosphere. So that could make the fight and the atmosphere of the place very different. And there's tactical things that could change. Probably not expending as much energy in the first few rounds, not trying too much to be too eager, or it could be the other way. Like, if I do put my foot on the gas 1 or 2 and go for it a little bit more and really go hell for leather,
what would happen?
Maybe I'd drop him with a body shot, because I remember Dave saying he didn't want to give too much away. I don't want to give too much away for him, but I caught him with a couple of good body shots, and he's not too proud to admit they were good shots. Like, he caught me with some stunning shots. You obviously see it. My head was pinging back all the time. Defensive stuff I've got to work on, obviously. It's difficult when he's caught you with a really good shot, which does your balance as well. So I'm just, as much as I'm proud of how I toughed it out and dealt with the situation I was in, don't get hit with a shot that hits you on the ear. It's as simple as that. Don't get hit as much and hit him more. It's not rocket science, sometimes with boxing. Just, I think that's as much as I want to give away.
And all the overall Saudi experience then, Johnny?
Yeah.
Any cool moments, any cool interactions with any big names? I know watching on TV, it was like ringside Eddie was sitting there, but then Cuba Gooding Jr. was just sat watching the entire fight.
Prince Nassim Hamed was walking around. He was really friendly, and Joseph Parker, Dubois, I saw all the big names walking through.
Did you get any chat with them?
Yeah, a little bit. I know Parker quite well. He speaks to my dad a little bit online. Dubois I sparred loads of rounds with, so I said hello to him again. And my dad actually met Lennox as well.
I saw that.
Spoke to him, and he's a hero of mine. Like, he's probably the best heavyweight. If you was going to build a heavyweight, you'd build Lennox Lewis, And it was amazing to be among them names, and even fighting on the same card as Usyk and Fury. I remember getting off the plane when we was walking down the stairs, and Fury was just getting on the plane. He was going, "Fisher, oi, oi."
Was he?
Yeah, it was amazing. I haven't seen him in a good couple of years since we sparred, and he's just Tyson Fury is a legend, isn't he? Like, just such a down-to-earth bloke. People in the media love to slate people, but Tyson Fury is one of the realest men you're ever going to get. And I know he's just announced his retirement, but what a fight that would be with him and Joshua if that does happen down the line, which I'm hoping it will, because it's a spectacle British boxing fans deserve. But it's completely up to Fury, because he's done more than enough for us already.
That's the fight we want to see, isn't it?
It'd be massive, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
In England, at Wembley. That'd be crazy.
I think that's why he's saying he's retired.
Not stupid.
Yeah, if I retire, they'll just push the price up and up and up.
And
a
couple of mils, or 10 or 20 mils.
A few zeros,
yeah. I wouldn't mind being a pound note behind Fury, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We'll be all right then, won't we?
Yeah, exactly, mate. So did you get any messages from anyone after the fight? Any big names, Johnny?
Who messaged me? A few people, like commentators. Adam Cattrall, I've done a little bit of work for. He said the toughness you showed and the resilience. Liam Smith, the Scouse boxer, former world champion, he said a great fight. And just people I know as well, and people in the circle saying the grittiness and the toughness that you've shown. Conor Benn, another one as well, gave me some praise, and I showed people a different side to me there. And people coming up to me in the street they're just saying that what a tough fight, what an entertaining fight, and that's a success in itself. Like, listen, we all want to knock people out straight away. You want to make it as easy work as you can, but to showcase to the public as well that I'm not just bowling people over. I can hang tough in there, because there's moments in there. A weaker man, take a knee, look for the easy way out. Remember, I don't have to do this. This isn't my be all and end all of life. I do this because I love boxing and I love the challenge of it. I could go and be a lawyer or barrister or become the second Big John and just feed myself with chicken balls all day long. But I love fighting. I love boxing. I love the challenge of it. It's the hardest sport in the world, not only from the physical perspective, but the people that are watching, the pressure of the moment, and the way you could be built up and cut down and build yourself back up again. That's part of the challenge as well. And I relish it. I really do, because that's what might build you as a man at the end of the day. And I want to look back, and when I'm retired, I want to say that I gave it 110%,
Good on you, mate.
Thank you.
Are you trying to grow your business or brand but often find there aren't enough hours in the week? Have you considered hiring a virtual assistant to help with all those tasks that you don't want to do that could easily be delegated? I'm talking about admin, accounting, digital marketing, social media, and much, much more. Well, our show sponsors Remote provide businesses, entrepreneurs, and social media influencers with the top virtual assistant talent in the Philippines. If you're curious but still sitting on the fence, why not use the referral code Bondi to trial a virtual assistant for 2 weeks for absolutely free. That's 2 weeks, absolutely free. All you have to do is go to the website www.remote.com.au/contact, enter your details, enter the referral code Bondi, and someone from Remote will be in touch. I've added the link to the Remote website in the Instagram bio, and there's also a link in the show notes. And if you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, please get in touch with us over Instagram. Cheers. So back home for Christmas, like a few days later, how was that?
Yeah, nice. Just a plenty of sleeping. Not doing too much. Went out to a couple of the pubs and had a few Diet Cokes, babysitting William and Henry as they get a bit jolly. And it was just nice. See all my family. Went Christmas Eve, went up the cafe all as a family, all the extended family. Had a nice bit of food, and it's just nice to see go from one extreme to the other. One day you're in Saudi Arabia on the other side of the world in a completely alien place you've never been before, fighting on this card, and then the next day you're just back to normal. And that's the ups and downs of boxing, whether that's in Saudi Arabia. But I remember in other fights, like one day you're on top of the world, you knock someone out in one round, the next day you're at your local gym just sitting around the pool having a Diet Coke, you know. It's just that's life in a way. And you can see how the people at the top of sport, the Tyson Furies, the Paul Gascoignes, they struggle with the up and down, the yo-yo nature of it. And it is a buzz. It's like a drug in a way, being in these high-octane moments that very few people can do, really, this heavyweight boxing especially.
A lot of people get in strife when they constantly try and chase that, right?
Yeah, it's like, it is a buzz. And I look at people like my good friend Derek, like he's another one who's just constantly chasing that high, and he's so entertaining to watch. He's a legend of the game. Derek Chisora. And I can't wait to see him fight again, but it's just a high that you keep on chasing, and I can see where someone like him, a legend of British boxing, that crowd goes crazy for him. It is a buzz that you struggle to walk away from, and especially when it's your people you're walking out in front of. Like when I look at my crowd when I fought at the Copper Box, it's like I know most of them people in that crowd will have a connection to them some way, or they know someone who knows me or knows my brother, and they feel like it's your people in front of you, and it's just growing and growing all the time, and it is a buzz you can't walk away from sometimes, you know.
Would you have a rumble with Dale?
Sorry?
Would you have a rumble with Dale? No?
I've got too much respect for Derek Chisora. I think it's... people have asked me this question before. I speak to Derek quite often now, and one, he's a legend of the game, and two, he's got fights out there that are much bigger. I know they're talking about the Ngannou fight. That's a massive fight if they could do that in Africa. And I'll never be so up myself or disrespectful to where he's been to even mention myself in the same breath. I'm humble enough to admit that I've got a long way to go to be on the legendary status of Del Boy Chisora, you know.
Tony Bellew thinks it should happen.
He does. And Tony, I've met Tony a few times now. I was fishing with him back in the summer. And
fishing with Tony Bellew?
Yeah, we was doing a little...
Tell me about this.
With my good friend Jess Harding, and he runs the event JBD Sports, and you've got Ellis Kendra's there, the rugby player, a good friend of mine who's on my team, and David Seaman's there, loads of old darts players as well, Adrian Lewis, etc. Gary, who's the Scotsman, the flying Scotsman? Gary Anderson,
yeah.
Luke Littler, he was there, and Tony's one of them guys who's been there and done it, and it's people like that I've got to pick the brains of, because I'm probably at 10-20% of where I'm going to end up, hopefully. And there's a long road ahead, and people like that you've got to pick the brains off, because they've been there and done it and fought in these massive stadiums, and he's fought Usyk and put up a really good fight against him. So them guys, it's great to get praise from them when it comes.
It's great that you have access to those guys, Johnny.
Definitely.
Back to Christmas Day.
Yeah.
What does Christmas Day look like in the Fisher household?
It gets a bit crazy. It always is, and it's just a nice... People really make a big thing about Christmas dinner, but let's have it right. It's just a roast dinner, isn't it? Like, everyone's like, my mum's stressing out over it. I'm just like, just relax. Got the only thing that's like throws it off is putting the massive turkey in the oven, and then there's no room for all the fruit, all the vegetables that go in. But it's just eating constantly, every hour. There's just food everywhere, and you have Christmas breakfast, which is bacon and petty pans and croissants and chocolate, and then it's just chocolates from the day that people have all bought. You know, you're constantly eating. By Christmas dinner, you're stuffed already, and then you've got to put this whole dinner down, and then the cakes come out and the cheese balls, and it is just me, my immediate family, and my nan comes round. Whereas it used to be all our families. My dad's one of 4. All of them would go around my nan and granddad's, and it hasn't really been. We still have great Christmases and we see each other, but that was magical when we used to go to my nan and granddad's, because I was only a young kid then as well, and that was. That's what Christmas is about to us, spending time with family.
So you get the turkey on, Johnny?
Yeah, I do.
Any other meat?
Cooking turkey and beef on Christmas Day, and we've always got a Christmas ham. The night before we have a cape on, big chicken with ham and real chips and egg, and just keep it simple. Bagels from Brick Lane Bagel or Gants Hill Bagel Shop, and you got just food coming out of your ears and everywhere. You got to put stuff in the porch and keep it cool in there and hope it's cold enough to stay there. It's just constant eating beef ribs, rib of beef, just constant food coming from everywhere. Mince pies, chocolate puddings, people bringing chocolates round. You can see why some of us are larger in our family household.
Are you quality streets for celebrations, Johnny?
Celebrations, Maltesers all day long.
Yeah.
You get that box with just Maltesers in.
Yeah,
we love a Toblerone in our house as well.
Oh yeah,
love a Toblerone. It's just biscuits as well. Fox's biscuits. You know them ones, the big round ones with the chocolate. They're more chocolate than biscuit. But yeah, you can only. I'm at the point in my life. Right, it's nice to have a bit of rubbish, but I get more enjoyment now out of eating as healthy as I can as well. So after I've binged on a bit of chocolate, which was nice for a few days, you do get that point and be like, right, back to the healthy eating. And I get more satisfaction out of that now. I'm grown out of eating the bad stuff. I'm sure when I retire, I'll be putting a few of them away, but now the bigger picture is more important, you know.
Good on you, mate.
Thank you.
And Gavin and Stacey that night, do you watch it?
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. I loved it. We love Gavin and Stacey's. My brother don't. Henry doesn't like it.
Did he not? Does not like it?
Yeah, I love it. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a good end to it. The one thing with Gavin and Stacey, though, do you not think the two most stupidest, boringest characters are Gavin and Stacey?
I think that's the point, mate.
Yeah, that's the whole point, isn't it? It's actually about,
it's not about
Smithy and Nessa, isn't it? Stacey's so annoying. She's always moaning. Like, imagine having a missus like that. Jesus Christ. But Gavin's boring as well, but I like Mick and the way he stood up at the thing, and she played her part well with Smithy's wife to be, didn't she? She was horrible, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's such a good program, isn't it?
I love Dawn, and what's her husband called?
Mick.
No, Pete.
Oh, Pete and Dawn. Yeah, he's funny. Pete, he's funny.
Yeah.
Who's the one? Bryn doesn't look like he's aged at all, does he?
No, Rob Brydon, he looks fantastic, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks good still, but all the others they're getting on a bit, but. It's mad to think that was nearly 20 years ago when it first came out. I remember that coming out.
What part of Essex are they supposed to be from?
From Billericay, so that's a little bit, that's like 20, 30 minutes out.
Right.
So you got Brentwood, we're Romford, which is probably the closest to East London sort of thing, and Dagenham, like that's getting into East London. Then you got Brentwood 10, 15 minutes out, and then 10, 15 minutes from there is Billericay. So that's a little bit further out. But it's all filmed in Wales, isn't it? It's not actually filmed in Essex.
Right.
That house is in Wales, but my dad actually done a DJ set at Barry Island once as well.
No, he did.
About a couple of years ago, and he said you see all the street and stuff, and the people are really friendly like they are on the programme as well. So, yeah, Big John's been to Australia, but he's also been to Barry Island. Yeah, it's crazy.
I love the fact. So I was home for Christmas this year, and I just love the fact that everyone at like 9 o'clock was tuning in.
Yeah. And you see all the TikToks coming up after, and it's like 90+1 Dave's coaches saves the day, and then it's like Mick standing up 90+2. Yeah, it's really good. And then Nessa, it's funny when he goes to the boat and Nessa says no at the start, doesn't she? That's the Nessa answer. Really good. I love that programme.
Yeah,
it's a very heartwarming programme.
Good ending, emotional ending. Good way to finish Christmas Day as well.
100%.
So, Johnny, we had your dad on when he was here a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about was sort of that abuse he gets online on social media, and that reel went viral on Instagram. Like, we've never had a clip that's done that well and had so much engagement. Were you aware of sort of what was going on?
But people, I think anyone in the public eye in Britain and Ireland, anyone of any sort of following gets abuse to an extent. I was talking about this with my manager the other day, and like everyone gets abuse, and Big John's another easy target for that abuse. And listen, we know he can live healthier. I'm always on to him about living healthier, but he's lived an athlete's lifestyle before, and like he's at the point in his life, if he wants to live it how he wants to live it, who are we to tell people? But the problem is, social media makes people a lot braver than they are. and what they would be in person, because no one ever comes up to me in person and says all this stuff. And a lot of the time it's people not happy with their own lives and they put it onto my dad, you know. It could be anyone. It's not just my dad. It happens to people all up and down social media. It happens to me now as well.
Do you get it?
Yeah, everyone gets it.
What do you get, Johnny?
People are looking to, like with me in boxing, and I think in any sort of performance sport, people are looking for something to go slightly wrong or something not go to plan, especially after this last fight. He's a joke of a fighter, he's rubbish, he's this. I had it anyway. I had it for my debut, people saying he'll be tarmacking my drive pretty soon anyway, but it's just stupid jokes like that. I just brush it off. And my dad does to an extent, but he's also got that part of him where bites back at it. And sometimes I think to him, just don't bite back, because you're feeding that's what they want. Especially a lot of these trolls, they're looking for a reaction. They get a hit off of the reaction. But he's a sort of bloke, and the way we've been raised, you got to call these people out, but it's not an age of doing it in person anymore. Doing it online, what is it actually doing? It's just words on a screen, and just block and delete him if it bothers you so much. And I think that's what he does now. I don't even do that. I just let it go, water off a duck's back. It really doesn't bother me, because I know it's part and parcel of being in the public eye to an extent, you know.
Do you ever go into the comment section, or you just go, I just don't need that?
Not really, no. I don't go into it.
I think that's the play, mate. I think that's a smart thing to do.
You just don't need to. I get. Listen, most of my stuff is positive, but if you get a strata of people that are just nasty and horrible, and just let it go. What benefit is it of engaging in that? If you know yourself and you're true to yourself and you hold yourself accountable for your own actions, why do you need the opinions of some anonymous accounts on Instagram?
Yeah, completely agree. It's weird that if you get 100 comments and 99 of them are positive and one of them is negative, you linger on that one negative.
I know, yeah, but it's the world we live in now. Social media is a fantastic tool, and it's a fantastic thing for people staying connected around the world and people expressing themselves. But like anything, there's a negative side to it, and there is a really evil, dark side to social media as well. And I think we need to educate young people, especially on the nature of it, because if you've got not a weaker mind, but if you've got a more sensitive mind to things like that, it can affect people very badly. You see people kill themselves all the time on over social media and bullying, or cyberbullying as they call it. But you've got to grow a thick skin if you want to be in the public eye, because you're going to get it 24/7, no matter what you do, whether you're a good person or not.
And your dad seems to have that thick skin, and
he does.
He can take it.
Big John is the ultimate example of not giving an fuck in life. You know, he doesn't care. He's past that point, and he lives for the moment. He lives for himself. He lives for the people that he cares about around him. And I think people on the whole resonate with that, and they feed off that positive energy. And we're not trying to do anything offensive to anyone, or he's not trying to be offensive. He's just having a good time, and he wants people to have a good time with him. So how can you not like someone who wants to do that?
Just on your dad, so I put up that social media post earlier, Johnny, just saying what should I ask Johnny Fisher? Obviously, your dad slipped in with a few questions.
I bet he's going to take the piss out of me now. Was he asking about birds or girls?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he wants to know how the love life's going. So, Johnny, how's the love life going, mate?
It's pretty much non-existent, especially during training camp. Like, I don't go out.
Is it just difficult to meet?
You just don't go out. Like, how can you find a girlfriend if you don't go out? Like, it's just impossible. I think like the best bet I've got is when I go out doing things with him, or right now if I meet someone, that would be great. But right now, my life, like it was when I spoke to you 10, 11 months ago, my job and my career and my passion has to come first, and I can't have something that distracts me from that. If I meet a lady or a woman, it's got to be someone who's going to add to my life and not distract me from that. I've met girls in the past where they've been great, they've been brilliant, but it's hard they can't understand or grasp that I can't be out at 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night on a Friday or Saturday. I have to be at home. And like I can't be worrying about where they are if they're out on a Saturday night with their girls and things like that. That's just another 5% thing when my brain isn't fully relaxing. Listen, you can do what you want, but it's not the right time for me to be stressing over things like that. I need to focus fully at the task on hand, you know.
So if it happens naturally, organically,
then it
open to.
I feel like it will happen as it's meant to happen, and something when it does happen, it won't be forced or it won't be hard to manage. It will just happen, and it will fit perfectly into my lifestyle. I'm not forcing or looking for anything, because there's more important things for me to worry about. I'm 25 years old. I've got years and years to settle down and worry about that. But right now, I'm on a mission to be the best version of myself in my sport, and that provides and that can give me the opportunity to support my immediate family now. I'm not thinking about some lady I can meet down the line she's not my mum who's helped me through my whole life, not my brothers who I live with, or my little sister or my dad who've been there for me. Why would I sacrifice what I can do for them by selfishly chasing a lady or a woman who might not be out there yet, you know? Or maybe that's just my excuse of why I can't get a date in the first place. So you just don't know, do you? I might just be bluffing.
Mate, we'll let the listeners decide on that one, mate. So just on, Johnny, just on you trying to be that best version of yourself, like goals for this year.
I'd love to win the next step up. Obviously, I won the Southern Area title. I like the idea of winning an English title and then the British title. If the English title becomes available this year, I'd love to win that. I'd love to fight in Australia as well. And
what needs to happen, Johnny, for you to sort of take on those fights for the English title and the British title?
Well, me and Dave could fight again, and that could be for an English. And there's even a chance that if this becomes vacant, the British title, because Dave's fought at that level, I think I can contend at British level. So that could even become available. And if my pinnacle of my career is to win the British title, I think of the names that have held that belt through history. It's obviously studied history, and I value and I respect the history of that belt so much. So that would be the pinnacle for me. And who knows what you can do from winning the British title. But I think even if it takes me 2-3 times to bites of the cherry to win it, like if I can end my career done that, I've achieved over the odds of what I think I can in this sport, because I started as a university student who was playing rugby for a bit, and I just went and sparred Dave Allen and Joe Joyce for a bit of fun to tell my mates. So I'm winning. I've just got to keep going, and I hold myself and the way that I fight and how I train to a very, very high account. And if I keep doing that, I've got every chance to win an English or British title.
Well, mate, we wish you the best of luck for 2025, mate.
Thank you very much.
We're going to be watching very, very closely from over here.
That's good.
Hopefully you can get a wee fight over here, mate. We'd absolutely love that.
It's great to see you.
Thank you, Johnny. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers. Bosh.
Bosh.